Aha! This wasn't done by animals. They must have gone into the woods this way.
Hello, my name is Daniel Vávra. I am a creative director at Warhorse Studios, working on Kingdom Come Deliverance. You may know me from a Mafia series where I was creative director as well. Generally, I would like to say that Middle Ages were not that terrible as many people think, and most of the movies depict them. So this typical brown, dirty, stone image of medieval ages is bullshit. People wear very colorful clothes. They were not that dirty. The buildings were not made just of stone, but they were painted and stuff. There was a lot of statues, paintings, and all those things. And it was even quite safe. I would say that in normal times, when there was no war, the crime rate was lower than today, and even the taxes were lower than those days. So all those bad things they say or teach you in school about the Middle Ages are mostly wrong. So yeah, it's war during our game, so it's a little bit worse, but still a lot different than from most movies, I would say. It was really hard, for example, to execute someone. Everybody thinks that you stole 2 coins and you were executed. No, you wouldn't even go to prison more likely, and because the prison costs money, nobody would like to feed prisoners. So basically they would give you some penalty and it would be it. And even the nobility treated the people most of the times quite well because they were their resources. So I would say that the 16th, maybe 17th century, which was much worse than the actual 14th, 15th century. In a short, there could be probably big discussion about it. And yeah, people couldn't read, which is, by the way, a mechanism in the game. You cannot read as you and start a game. You can learn how to read during the game in the quest, but until that moment, every time you open a book, you see just some mishmash, like broken letters. And when you start reading, it kind of put the letters in place. So yeah, people couldn't read, but even the nobility couldn't read. So there was equality in that. I always wanted to make such game. Since I was like really little kid, I liked the castles and stuff. Maybe it was because my grandparents took me to all the castles we have, and we have a lot of them in Bohemia. So it was my general interest since my childhood. And the first game I worked on as a student at the high school was also something like Elder Scrolls Arena. We even had some similar engine, and it was about a knight and his squire. You was the squire. We never finished it, but we started working on it. And then before Mafia, we made a prototype also for a kind of medieval game. So it was something I always wanted to make. And the reason why it's set in Czech Republic or Bohemia, it's easier for us. It's my history, so I would like to tell it. But generally, at those days, Prague was the capital of Europe, basically. It was the city of the Holy Roman Empire. In Bohemia, there was 30% of Germans living. We have a huge German minority. And basically, the whole Europe was kind of like coherently same. So the buildings, the clothes, armors, weapons, everything, castles were very similar. So I would say that the period is very understandable for everyone. It's kind of like common sense for Europeans at least. And also people ask me, why Bohemia? Do you think that Americans will get Czech history because we were under the occupation by Russia for so long? But the thing is, as I said, it was capital of Europe. We are not Eastern Europe. We were part of the Eastern Europe because we were occupied. We have much closer relationship to Germany than to Russia, except the language probably. And the other thing is, thanks to this Iron Curtain thing, there was no cultural exchange between us and the West. So nobody knows our history because we never had a chance to tell it to anyone. And I always say that before Mel Gibson made Braveheart, nobody knew who William Wallace was. And after the movie, everybody knows it. So
Great.
I'm trying to do the same a little bit. I was reading historical books all like before that as well, but I spent kind of like 2 years reading books, preparing myself to kind of get into the topic, because when you want to write about accurately about some period that you didn't live to yourself, it's quite hard, because even the little daily basis details are absolutely different. For example, if you want to speak about clothing, everything had different name. They didn't wear normal trousers, sneakers and a t-shirt. They had several layers of clothes with names that you don't even understand, and if you want to like even how they wore them was different than today. So you have to learn all those details. So for example, I had to write a manual for the artist how the clothing works, and it was 30 pages of pictures and text, how each different part of clothes look, how it's named, who used it, which colors are possible, because they didn't have all the colors, and some colors were used for hookers, for example. So the yellow is something you don't want to have when you are a merchant. So such things we have to learn to kind of show the period accurately, not like something like present people in funny costumes. That's something we wanted to avoid. So like there's a lot of freedom. You can do mostly anything, anytime. Some things wait for you, some don't. So, but we don't, and it was a huge challenge, I would say. So for example, the quest we are showing here, you are this medieval detective and you are told like, go with this guy to this farm when something terrible happened and help him investigate it. And this guy is waiting for you in the castle, but if you don't go there, they will go away. And then you go there and somebody tells you, yeah, they waited for you, but then they went away because you didn't appear. So you can jump on the horse, go to them. They will be there already investigating. The guy will be very upset at you that you didn't follow him. And basically you will skip half of the quest. Which will be replaced by a little bit different part. So he will give you something. So and if you go with him, you will arrive at the farm. You will see very long cutscene. Everything's going to be explained to you, what happened, how it happened. That's all you're going to miss if you don't go there on time.
They went deeper and deeper, for sure.
And then they will go, oh, look around, we are searching for some guys. And you can go to the wood, like you can ask people, or you can follow some physical trails. And if you go to the woods, you will find those guys there that you are looking for. They are dangerous, and or you can start fighting them. But if you are scared, you can go back and ask the guy. So I found them. They are in the woods, but I'm afraid. So he will send 3 soldiers with you, and they will kill them instead of you. So you don't have to kill them.
Hey, watch it. Shit!
You're dead!
Bastard deserved it. I'll still know nothing.
Most of the game works like this. You can. There are always some options how to approach everything, and if you do something stupid, when other game would kind of break the narrative and just pretend that you didn't do anything, so people will be still standing there waiting for you doing nothing. That's something we are trying to avoid, and that makes it much more complicated for us. A side effect of the game is that, yeah, you can use it as a educational tool, but we have a quite similar to Assassin's Creed, we have a codex in the game where you can read about the different things you encounter during the game. So about people you meet, about during different works they do, some buildings, and how things worked at the time. So yeah, you can use it as a educational tool, but I would say that most teachers would avoid it because it's also not very politically correct and a little bit dirtier than would be suitable for little kids, I would say. I want games to be an experience that basically gives you some experience about something that you cannot do in real life. So this game is basically a time travel to 15th century, and we found out that nobody actually knows that much about, for example, how wooden buildings look, because there are no wooden buildings from the time. So when we asked the historians, so how did medieval village look, and they were like, oh, we can rather tell you how it didn't. But exact how it looked, yeah, maybe, yeah, it seems that you have it kind of right, but maybe it looked different. So it's as close as we think we can get. So we started with a very small team. Then we couldn't find the publisher, so we had to go to Kickstarter. Then we found an investor, or the investor gave us more money, even without the publisher, after the successful Kickstarter. So then we grow from like 20 people to today we have more than 100. So I would say that average during the last 3.5 years with like 60 people, but currently we are 110 or something like that. It's indie development that costs a little bit more than usual indie development, I would say.
Yeah.
Actually, the beer is produced in a very small craft brewery by guys who bought their own castle, reconstructed it, and then they built a brewery next to it, and they are trying to make kind of very, it's very small, quite expensive, and they are trying to make the high quality beer. So we are going to this castle very often. We have some meetings there and stuff. We like them. They have similar mindset than us. So we make this deal that we will produce our beer there. I was telling them, so I would like to have some like really old school, how they made it in 15th century. And he was like, you don't want it. We tried and it was disgusting because they didn't have the technology.
Yeah.
So every time they did it, it was a little bit different, and it was kind of like a little bit of magic. So they were trying to do weird stuff, like putting some weird objects into it for luck to make it good. So it was really probably not that good. But I tasted a beer made by the old recipe, like the old way, in the old equipment and everything, and it still tasted like a beer. It was a beer. You can buy it on our webpage,
Okay.
but It's just something we do for promotion, and we give it to the press. We bribe the press with it. It's possible to buy it on our webpage. And it's the actual actor who voiceovers the guy. He played in several TV series from BBC. I think he played in some Western with Kevin Costner, so he's kind of like really good actor. Like, he is a really good actor, and this is his likeness. It's him. We made him a little bit different hair.
I was only doing my duty, sir.
I'm ready, Captain.
Good. Then follow me, keep quiet, and do exactly as you're told. I don't know what Sir Radzig sees in you, and I don't care. If you're to ride with my men, I expect you to listen.
Yes, sir.
Crucifix. What kind of beast could do this?
Like, all the people in the game are actual real people, scanned, and some of them are the actual actors who, if their first face was kind of good for the voice, for the character, we used their actual likeness.
The horses were still alive when I came. We had to finish them off. All of them.